everybody, and welcome to the City of Madeira Beach Workshop Meeting. Today is April 18th, and the time is 2:01. I'm not familiar with the proceedings for a workshop. The agenda says, I'm looking at the wrong agenda, I apologize, that the roll call is next. Is there supposed to be invocation or anything?
No.
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, will the city attorney, please, city clerk, please read the roll.
Mayor Black,
Here.
Vice Mayor Douthert, Commissioner Terry Lister,
Here.
Commissioner Hodges,
Here.
Commissioner Oakley.
Okay, so at this point, again, like I said, I'm not familiar with the format. I'm not sure if someone can tell me the correct format.
Mayor, I can take the floor if you want. What we do is we just...
Thank you.
What we do is just run through the topics that have been proposed. If there's a topic on there that you want added or subtracted from the agenda, again, we're not talking about the merits of the items on the agenda today. We're just discussing what we're going to discuss at next week's meeting. There are a couple of things on here where you, like number 5, discussion on FEMA 50% substantial improvements rule. You might not know anything about that, so I'm going to have Marcy come on up and give you a 20-second dissertation on it. But the real conversation will happen next week. So if there's something on here that you don't agree with, then you say, Mr. City Manager, we would ask that that be pulled or adjusted or whatever. So this is your agenda. You guys set the agenda, and I just walk through these items one by one. So for instance, item number 1 is discussion on the resolution 2017-02, which is the Board of Commissioners Policy Handbook. Each of you have that. I think it's been sent to you electronically, and you have a paper copy. That document contains your general rules of operation, including the time of day for the workshop. With that being said, we have had numerous requests already for next week's workshop to be held at 6 p.m. That is up to you. You're the mayor. You call the meeting. If you want to maintain it at 2 o'clock, you can do that as well. But right now, this resolution states it will be at 2 o'clock unless otherwise altered by the mayor. So let's...
I think we decided last week that the next few meetings would be held at 2 o'clock.
We can keep it at 2 o'clock if you would like.
Discuss a later time later.
There you go. And next week would be a pertinent or a germane time to discuss that. So item number 2, discussion of 4th of July city event.
Excuse me for just 1 minute, please. I don't know if this is the time to do that. I was wondering if next Tuesday's meeting could be moved to possibly Wednesday. The reason being my wife gets operated on a Tuesday afternoon, and I'm unable to be here.
That's extremely possible that you as the commission set the date and time. Usually it's a conflict for the city attorney because he does have other cities. City staff can adjust. I don't know honestly what my 2 o'clock calendar looks like on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, but you can certainly entertain that. You guys set the date and time. You can go a week from Tuesday too. And the reason why I bring that up is if we're going to continue to have these agenda setting meetings, and we've had them in the past, we really need to consider holding them on the date of the BOC meeting. And if it takes an hour beforehand, it takes an hour beforehand, because we've got a lot of items on this agenda. And so for the next 72 hours, well, the next 3 days of working in my office, we have to correlate and get ready a packet that's going to have possibly 30 items on it, and that's not enough time. So we probably need that extra week. So what we used to do is hold agenda setting meetings 5 o'clock or 5:15, whatever we thought it was going to take before the BOC meeting, so that staff had 2 weeks to get you guys the information and the paperwork that you needed. So instead of going, week to week to week, we really need that buffer so that we can get you the information you want. Otherwise, it's going to prove to be a futile meeting. So if you want to take that issue up right now, Madam Mayor, about moving it to Wednesday, we can. If you want to move it to the following Tuesday, you can. It's completely up to you, but obviously you need a quorum, so it starts with y'all, and then it probably goes to the city attorney to see if he or a representative can be present.
Comments from the board?
I apologize, John. I have a standing commitment on Wednesday night, so I couldn't make it.
Doing it on Tuesday the following week would be fine.
I'm good with Wednesday, moving to Wednesday.
Well, we know, John, is this something that we should be taking a vote on, or is it just simply conversation?
We can kind of, it's one of those consensus type things, a thumbs up or thumbs down as to what you want to do. People are used to having our meetings on Tuesday, and so usually if we do delay it, we do a Thursday or the following Tuesday. I don't know if the following Tuesday meets with everybody's calendar, including the city attorney. No. Otherwise, you obviously get an excused absence if they choose to maintain the meeting at that date and time, but you can hold it on Saturday at 3 in the afternoon if you want. It's just, what people are routinely used to, and then we have to obviously get it published and posted, so, but it's up to you, up to the commission.
Well, it seems to me one person is going to be missing, and we may as well keep it on the date it's currently planned for.
So we're going to do it on Tuesday?
Yes,
Tuesday, and we're
That's fine with me.
maintaining the time at 2 p.m.
correct.
So that's next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday is the actual workshop.
25th.
John's not going to be able to make that meeting, though. Right. Next Tuesday. Oh, okay. I got you.
Okay, Madam Mayor, if we're good, I can proceed. Discussion on 4th of July city event. We sometimes alter from the 4th of July depending on what day the 4th of July falls on. This year it falls on a Tuesday. So staff recommendation is to hold the 4th of July event on the 4th of July, which is Tuesday. Also, we've had an anonymous donor donate $5,000 to offset the cost of the fireworks and the barge, and that $5,000 has been pulled. So our options are to take the $5,000 out of the show, if you will, the actual physical fireworks, or we need to appropriate $5,000 additional from somewhere else in the budget. And so you can decide that. Last year's show, I think for anybody that saw it, was probably the best we've had in 5 years. And we're still under contract with that same company, but you can certainly diminish, decrease, whatever you want to say, the show. Otherwise, we need to find $5,000 or $5,000 additional dollars to offset that donation that we used to get every year. Item number 3 is the bone fishing tournament. That's sneaking up on us relatively quickly, and the only question before you is whether or not you're going to waive the fees like we had done with the previous commission with that special meeting. Now this is, it's your turn for that. Items number 4 and 5.
Excuse me, can I interrupt? I think maybe it might work better rather than you go through every single one of these items, that we do that one at a time to decide if we want to put it on the agenda.
Okay.
And you can discuss it, give us the background at that time.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let's start with the discussion on the resolution 2017-2, the BOC policy handbook. I guess the discussion would be, do we want that on next week's agenda?
Yes.
I think we should have a meeting and go over the handbook. Just the handbook. And just,
A separate meeting, you're saying?
right.
Any other comments?
A separate workshop, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Just to go over it, the whole thing.
When did you plan on having this meeting for the review of the handbook?
I was just asking if it should be on the next workshop.
Okay.
So that's off of next week's agenda. That's all we're trying to figure out right now is whether they're on or off. So that's off. Just next.
All right, then the next would be the discussion of the 4th of July city event. Should that be on next week's agenda, or should we postpone that one?
I think we need to have it on there because we're getting close time-wise.
I agree.
Yes.
Okay.
Bone fishing tournament. That's about waiving the fees. When is the bone fishing tournament?
Is that in June?
Early June.
Well, that's a simple thing to do, is to waive that, so we may as well put that on the agenda as well. Any comments?
Yes.
discussion of FEMA grants. Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, Marcy's in the audience, and she can just give you a 20-second rundown on that issue.
Hi, my name is Marcy Forbes. I'm a senior project engineer with Doolin Associates. Most of you know me, and I am managing the FEMA grants. I have 2 contract modifications / amendments that are going to come before you guys. So I thought the workshop would be a good time to kind of get you up to speed on how the grants work and how they trickle down from the federal level through to the state, to the municipality, and then to the homeowner, and then sometimes back up the chain. So I thought for you guys to properly understand the contract modifications I was presenting to you, it would be good to have it on the workshop so you understood.
All right, makes sense to me.
Is this a time-sensitive issue?
It is. Yeah. As it relates to these contract modifications, it is time sensitive.
Okay.
Any comments?
Yes, I'm good with keeping it on the agenda. Are we going to do the next one, Marcy, the 50% substantial?
I'm 4, 5, and 7. So briefly on 5, we kind of want to take advantage of the opportunity to workshop this topic. The FEMA 50% substantial improvement rule seems to keep cropping up. And I know particularly, Commissioner Oakley, you had a comment as it related to the CAV response that I'm working on. So I thought it would be a good time to kind of discuss that in general from permitting through to construction. That is not time sensitive.
If it's not time-sensitive, I say leave it off right now.
Seems reasonable.
I'm good with leaving it on.
Okay. Might as well go on to number 7.
And number 7 is the community rating system. This kind of piggybacks off the CAV response that I'm working on. So again, I thought maybe it would be a good time while we had everybody's attention to workshop that. It isn't time sensitive, but it is something that we would like to discuss, and I think it's very important to get out there for you guys and the community members as a whole.
I suggest putting that off till the next workshop, not the one coming up. Any comments on that?
What was your suggestion, Madam Mayor?
That we put it off until at least until after the next workshop. All right, so now we're at number 6, discussion of workout facility usage.
It's not time-sensitive, so, I mean, I can leave it on this one, or we can do it the next one.
Any other comments?
Let's put it off. Let's hold it off.
Okay.
All right, we're going to hold that one off. Format and location of the workshop meetings. I think that definitely needs to be on the agenda.
I'm good with that.
Me too.
Permanent lifetime parking passes for BOC members. I'm not sure where that came up, but
That's mine. That's mine, Madam Mayor.
okay. That is,
I'd like to leave it on.
I think we can leave that on. Any other comments? No. Facade for the stage adjacent to the recreation building.
I know that I worked with Doug Andrews on this too, the band shell down here, to put the facade around, Madam Mayor, and I'm not sure if I put enough money into this year's budget to do that, so I'd like to pull that off the workshop.
That'll be fine.
Thank you.
An update on the SB 330 and limiting the amounts of local B45 tax to $25. To be honest, I don't even know what that is, so. Can someone explain that?
It's just the bill up in Tallahassee, the Senate bill that they're trying to, they're just basically trying to get rid of the business tax.
Oh.
And it's probably going to happen sooner or later. I think the lawyers started this.
The lawyer.
Actually, it wasn't this lawyer, but a lawyer a number of years ago attacked the occupational license when it was in effect, probably 15 years ago, making an argument that lawyers shouldn't have to pay an occupational license tax.
Exactly.
The lawyers lost that, by the way. But this, just so that everybody understands, an occupational license, the name changed a couple of years ago to take it away from the fact that it's not really a license, it's really a tax. And so the legislature wanted to make sure that everybody understood it was a tax, and so they've called it a business tax, and specifically a business tax receipt. And this bill is attempting to limit the city's ability to collect those taxes.
Basically taking away home rule.
But yes, that's correct.
Well, and Madam Mayor, the other part of this is that they would reduce it so far that it would not even make a logical business sense to collect any business tax licensing. And so then the city would, at least we would want the freedom to opt out of doing it at all instead of charging $25 a license, because you're going from a $75,000 revenue line item to about a $15,000 line item for somebody that, you know, it's a major workload to do that.
It looks like we should keep this one on the agenda.
I'm with that.
Okay. Discussion on amending the 6-2 of the code to change alcohol sales for restaurants from 10 a.m. to 8 a.m. due to the county code change. When did that go into place?
Madam Mayor, there's one word missing in there, and that's Sunday. So the county code used to read from 10 a.m. till
11 a.m.
Or 11 a.m.? All right, 11 a.m. They adjusted their code to go to 8 o'clock, which allows cities to do that as well. So if you go to wherever your favorite place for breakfast is, and you show up at 9 o'clock and you want a mimosa, they can't serve it to you until 10. So you have the choice now to either allow them to do it at 8 o'clock or leave it alone at, 11 o'clock.
Well, it's 10 here in the city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're
Okay.
changing it to 8.
Oh, the county code was 11, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's certainly not time sensitive, but you certainly have a lot of interested restaurateurs in town that are interested in that one, so.
I think we can probably dispose of that at next meeting pretty easily.
Good.
Any discussion? Okay. We're leaving it on, if that's okay with the majority? Authorization of expenditures for deferred purchase of Ford Explorer. Well, we did discuss this at the last meeting. I think we probably need some more discussion about it.
I think the request was for more paperwork, and the chief's back in town, and he can provide all that.
All right, so we'll leave that on the agenda then.
Good.
Planning Commission vacancy. We definitely need to leave that on the agenda.
And Madam Mayor, that's a quick one. That's probably just going to be a consensus type thing to go ahead and authorize the city manager to go ahead and advertise for the position vacated by David Lawrence.
All right, contract with Vince Tenaglia.
That, Madam Mayor, you can scratch, you know, that contract was authored by Vince, and with the modifications, he denied to enter into the agreement, so we just have no agreement with him. So it's really a moot issue. It doesn't really need to be on the agenda.
Discussion of possible personnel reorganization.
I don't know why it's put under me, because I'm not reorganizing anything, so you can pull it off.
Any other comments?
No, that's fine. Take it on.
Okay. The PACE proclamation deferred from April 11th, BOC regular meeting.
Madam Mayor, that was an issue that former Commissioner Gavahi had brought up. You had noticed that we had April and March advertised as April, and it was for March. Neither one of those months really matter. To be quite honest, this is one of those feel-good type, things. We've got a lot more to do on the agenda. This could probably just be eliminated, especially since Commissioner Gavahi isn't here to explain himself. I mean, if he ever wanted to contact his commissioner and put it on the agenda, he certainly could do that.
May as well leave that one on the agenda.
Okay.
Discussion of city manager resuming efforts on recruitment of finance director. I believe that needs to be on the agenda as well. Any comments?
That's fine.
All right. Boca Ciega Drive and Avenue 6 inch water main relocation.
Madam Mayor, that can be removed from the agenda. We finally reached a resolution with the county, and they agreed to replace their water main. We were asking for some political help with the county to get that done, and coincidentally, they had even a further issue with the pipe, so they agreed now to replace it while we're out there doing our work. So 19 can be scratched.
Update on contract to update the sign ordinance.
Madam Mayor, just so we know what we're talking about, that is something that was initiated by the prior commission, definitely recommended by your city manager and your city attorney because of recent court developments that affect the sign ordinance. There was money put into last year's budget to have an attorney redraft our sign ordinance, and I do have the initial draft of that. Staff is still in the middle of reviewing that document. So this was just kind of an FYI type thing. Absolutely could be, not tabled, but, held on to for a month or two. It's, what I want to do is have staff review it, have our attorney review it, and then get it to you. And this is a pretty big document. So you're going to want a month of time just to kind of, peruse it.
Well, it looks like then we should put that off to another meeting. Any comments?
I'm with you.
I'm with you.
Discussion of pump-out boat.
Madam Mayor, again, this was a grant that was pursued by then Commissioner Elaine Poe. We've heard a lot of chatter that, it's not wanted, we don't need it. To be honest, after discussing it with my staff, it's one less thing that we would have to do. This is not a recreational boat. This is not anything fun that anybody wants to do. But we do have a grant for 80%, Dave? 75% to purchase a pump-out boat to address at least some of the, let's say, ickier parts of our waters. But if we want to turn down that grant, we can do that. We're not bound by anything at this point. But this, if anything's time sensitive, this one's
This is very time sensitive.
If we're going to turn it down, we got to turn it down now.
Well, then we'll definitely leave that on the agenda.
Yes, I'm with that, yes.
Update on state appropriation requests.
Madam Mayor, that is something that I would say we should keep on because will probably be updated within the next 30 to 60 days as the state budget progresses. Me and the ex-mayor had gone to the state and asked for 2 appropriations, of which one is definitely being considered and is in the top 40%, and one is almost a slam dunk according to our lobbyists, but I don't want to put anybody on the spot. But you need to know, A, what those requests are and what they're for, and then kind of watch the state budget process move along for the next, 60 days.
I would say let's leave that one on the agenda, but can you give us that information ahead of time?
Oh, yeah, I've got an email from our lobbyist. That'll be a 30-second item.
Okay. Discussion of extending the Wednesday beach market and Madeira Way past May.
Meaning past the month of May. That's just our Wednesday market. They're asking for an extension. That's relatively time sensitive. You guys should probably consider that.
Okay, that's good with me.
Item number 24 can be scratched.
All right, then the last one is the discussion of renewable energy.
And Madam Mayor, we have an internal committee and one citizen member that's been considering renewable energy resources such as solar and even, I don't want to say way cooler things than I know of, but when it comes to renewable energy, there's a number of different options that you can go with, and we're looking at that and how that could save the city some money either at the city center or the marina or wherever that might be. So that's another probably just 60-second update that you should probably be aware of because there may be items inserted into this year's budget in that regard.
All right, I see no problem leaving that on the agenda then.
All right, and then Madam Mayor, before the commission asks, I've got 4 additional ones that you may want to keep on or take off, and then, and I might be actually referencing something that you want to add. Everybody's been talking about the referendum issue and development, and I think it's important that if we as a team are gonna say, you know what, we're gonna put this issue on a referendum, that we hire either a neutral attorney or some sort of moderator to find out that if we put it on the referendum and the referendum prevails, have we dug ourselves a hole or opened ourselves up to liability or litigation with the two developers who have already been approved twice? I think that that's important to at least know. At least you know it, and then you can go on from there. If you want the city attorney to issue that opinion, he would do that, but if he looks at, if you view his opinion as a biased opinion, then we may want to hire a neutral attorney to address that issue. That's just my idea, take it for what it's worth. But if we're gonna get going on this referendum issue, I think we need to know the merits of what happens if it passes.
Any comments on that one?
I'm always in the camp of more knowledge is better, Madam Mayor.
Leave it on the agenda.
So if I could find out more, that would be fantastic with me.
All right, I'm good with that.
All right, then, Madam Mayor, and I've already kind of referenced this, and I think we can maybe address it if Commissioner Oakley does. I think we scratched number 1, but it sounds like we'll be having a special meeting about it, is what I just said previous to starting the meeting is these workshops are fine, but they do involve a ton of staff time, so we really need to try to get us a week in between so that we can get you all the information that you need. So if we do have another workshop, if we can hold it before the next BOC meeting, and if it takes an hour and a half, we'll have it at 4:30. If it's gonna take 20 minutes, we'll have it at 5:30, you know, that kind of thing. That's how we've done it before. Sometimes we might only have 3 things on a workshop agenda, and we'll have a quick little agenda setting meeting at 5:45. So it's gonna be all over the board, but we really need that extra week to get you all the paperwork that you need so your packet is complete and accurate.
I don't like that idea of having it prior to the BOC meeting.
Why not?
Because this is going to be looking down the road. We're already like trying to head into what's going in on the meeting and not worried about things that are going to be happening a month later or whatever. I mean, if we look at a calendar, we can probably figure out a good schedule that helps them, gives them the ability to have the stuff and gives them the time to do it and restructure how we're actually doing it. If we have a calendar, you know, and then we could better give them time to do what they need to be doing. But I don't like to do it before the meeting.
Well, maybe the best solution would be to continue, to put it on the agenda to discuss when a really good time would be to hold the workshops.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly can work with you all. It would have to be that week. You know, it doesn't have to be on Tuesday, but, you know, sometime, you know, the following Wednesday, the following Thursday, something like that. It could be at a time that's convenient for the commission. It can be a time that's convenient for anybody. So just an issue that staff has, just so that you're aware of it. And then an item that I think we need to talk about, because, you know, I think every rumor's got about 20% truth to it, but I've heard a lot of talk about eliminating the building department. And if that's a route that we're gonna go, we need to discuss some of the ramifications of that, and frankly, where it would go. Number 1 being it won't go to the county because the county won't accept it. So if that's a route that the city's going to contract out their building department after bringing it back 4 years ago, we need to discuss that. And if it's not, then we don't need to discuss that. But I need to know. We've got probably 4 or 5 employees that would be affected in the building department. And again, unless you're going to contract it out to a neighboring city or a consultant, I don't know what you do. But just like last Tuesday, if the motion is boom, just like that, to eliminate the building department, you shut down all permitting and all building in the city of Madeira Beach until you contract it out with somebody. So that's just based off of rumors I've heard, and like I said, that's probably 20% true. So if that's not an issue, we don't need to talk about that now, but if we are going that way, we need to educate the board on a contingency plan and which way we could go.
I personally don't think that we need to put it on the agenda. It is a rumor. That's all it is a rumor, and we don't need to put things on the agenda that are a result of a rumor.
And then, and finally, this is something that I've had a conversation with Commissioner Douthert about, was the ad hoc committees that we had discussed, and maybe putting some structure to that now. And the city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, that's probably another piece of item number 1 that Commissioner Oakley wants to have a special meeting about, because you could write that into your handbook. You know, we would like to have a budget review committee, or we want to, you know, get going on the fact that we probably need to have the charter reviewed, or the John, help me, there's a third one. The ordinance review.
Yeah, I have, Charter Ordinance Committee, I'm sorry, Charter Ordinance Committee, a Budget Committee, a Bid Review Committee, and kind of like an advisory committee for us, please.
So if we want to talk about those types of things, I don't know, Madam Mayor, if next week is the time to do it, or if you want to discuss that and incorporate that into your handbook conversation. So that's completely up to you, but that's just one more thing I had on my list that I talked to a commissioner about, and I know it was a campaign issue and that type of thing. So it's completely up to you if you want to put it on this agenda or save it for that, once we schedule a special meeting.
I would like to keep it on the agenda because that was one of the things I was going to add as well.
Good.
Comments?
No, as long as this agenda is, we might ought to consider putting it on when we do the handbook and just roll off of that. I mean, that's going to be done, that's got to be done really quick anyway.
Tie it into that, is that what you're
Right.
saying?
Because,
That's fine.
because what I see happening is we go do the policy handbook and we can talk about those committees, and then at the next meeting, we can put them on the agenda at that time and vote on how we're going to do it.
All right.
Then it spreads that, it's putting 2 meetings instead of 1 to take care of some stuff.
That makes sense.
So we're going to put number 1 back on?
No, we're going to put number
Number
let's see,
1.
25, 26, 27, 28, 29, number 29 with number 1 at that meeting.
The ad hoc committee,
Yeah, all the ad hoc committees going with that.
along with number 1. So number 1's coming back along with ad hoc committee.
That's not coming back. I think that's for a meeting to be announced,
That's a separate meeting.
Right.
I'm with you now.
and we'll discuss the timing of that meeting at the next meeting.
We could probably set it today.
Okay.
I don't know why not.
When would you like to have it? Any comments about timing?
Tuesdays are always good for me, Madam Mayor, but we'll see.
Well, and Madam Mayor, that's a much easier task to throw at staff because we're really only just talking about one item because it's just a resolution that needs to be, altered or amended. So if you want to squeeze that one in, like a meeting that we're doing today, that's a lot easier than what we had to do to get to this point today. So if, maybe the Tuesday after the BOC meeting in May?
Any Tuesday.
Or the Tuesday before?
Like May 2nd?
I'm good with any Tuesday.
Oh, this is one that, I'm sorry, and I always forget, but this is definitely one that you have to have your city attorney at, and he's in another, unavailable.
On Tuesday, the 2nd, I have the Dunedin Code Enforcement Board meeting. It starts at 2 o'clock.
Is the 16th available?
The 9th, I'm available.
The 9th is the BOC meeting here.
Okay, and the 16th?
Yeah.
I'm also available on the 16th
So
in the afternoon.
that's one that I think it's important that we got.
What would be the best time for you then?
The 2 o'clock would be
At 2
great.
o'clock?
If that was okay with the commission, the 16th?
The 16th at 2?
16th at
Okay.
2 o'clock.
May.
And this is for the BOC Rules of Procedure and a discussion about these other committees.
Correct.
So it'd be a workshop meeting.
Does anyone have anything else that they would like to add to the agenda for next week? As I said, I'm not familiar with the procedures, but I assume that now the audience is open to speak. Is this correct?
You would probably just want a motion to approve these numbered items to be on the workshop agenda that's coming up.
Wait, I have something I'd like to put on.
Oh, okay.
We need to put the petition on there and figure out what we're going to do with the petition.
Which number was that?
It was the first one.
Oh, that was,
26.
yes, 26.
Okay.
Oh,
It's on
yeah, we circled that, that's but not necessarily the petition, but it's definitely related, but the referendum issue. If we go ahead and go to referendum, what are, I don't want to call them ramifications because that's a negative connotation, but what if it's approved, what happens in terms of exposing ourselves to litigation? And I certainly trust our city attorney. I think he could probably research that and give that to us. But again, if you think he's got a biased opinion because he's been involved with this for so long, you're certainly welcome to, we could hire a private, or not a private, a neutral moderator, but with a legal background to come on in and take a look at that.
I think it would probably be best that the city hires someone on the outside. I'd be happy to do it, but I just want you to know that I think that there's always going to be those that are going to question whether or not you believe that there is an issue. Someone from the Bryant Miller Olive Law Firm, there are bond counsel. They do a lot of that type of work. You may want to, I can call Dwayne Draper and see if there's someone in his office that would be interested in doing that and get an idea as to what the cost would be prior to having the city manager retain him, if that's the direction. That's what my suggestion would be. Then you wouldn't be hearing from the public as to whether or not it's tainted in some way because I've been involved. Is that what you'd like?
It sounds good to me. Just get us that information. We can make a final determination.
All right, I will do that.
I'd also like to see the website be put out for bid. Our website is so horrible. We need to do something about it. Update it, move it into the 21st century at least. And I'd also like to see the wave bid out. The last time I looked, which was probably last week or the week before, Sunbiz, let's see, the company that does the wave is Squid Ink, and they are not an active company in Sunbiz. And it doesn't appear that they have been since 2011. So I think we need to get a reputable company that's up and current with Sunbiz.
Right. The only comment I've got for that is A, absolutely possible. B, we do have existing contracts for those, so we have to see if we're bound by any of that contractual language. So I can have in your packet the contracts for both those things as well. In fact, there was one other one. Oh, I'm going to include the contract when we're talking about the, and I think we already decided not to have it on there, the workout facility. There's a contract there that you need to become familiar with as well. So the website was part of an IT bid that we put out maybe 3 years ago, but it was separate. So I think that's just off the top of my head. I think that's very possible. And the wave, I'm just not familiar with that contract. I haven't read it in a while, but we can get you both those pieces of information.
Can we get all three of them by next week?
You want the one for the gym, even though it's not going to be on the agenda?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can send it out.
Thank you.
Any more additions to the agenda for next week? All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda-setting meeting items for next week.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been, I have a motion and a second. Any comments from staff?
Staff recommendations for approval, Madam Mayor.
Any other comments from the audience?
Kathy, can I ask you to speak into your microphone like this?
There's been a big old elephant sitting here, and, okay, there has been for me, a big elephant sitting over here, and we're talking about business as usual, and, for me and listening to people, I want to just know a couple of answers. Is Shane going to stay our city manager? And if not, are we going to discuss it? Are you going to be our legal advice? And when are we going to discuss it? Is the city clerk going to stay our city clerk? And when are we going to discuss it? There's no sense going forward if we're not with the right guys. Now, if you tell me you want Shane to be here, I'll follow you because I voted for you. The same with him, the same with the city clerk. But let's not pretend it's not here because it is here. Okay, it follows everyone. Everyone is talking about it. It needs to be fixed. And the only way we're going to fix it is to fix it. Talk about it, work with it, fire you, not fire you, but something. Anything else, I don't believe it. I don't believe he's going to recommend an attorney's office that he knows if we're going to fire him. We need to get real. This is our city, and we really work to support you guys. And we work to support you guys because we didn't like how the city was going. They had their turn, okay? Now it's our turn. If we want to join them, join them. But let's not make believe it's not here. It is here. We can't just keep going along. I'm going to ask you, the referendum, all the legal stuff, the courts have that. There are 7 of them. I certainly worked with them, spent my money about it, okay, and it's in the courts, and let them do it. The building department, nobody's taking the building apart, but maybe we should. There was some iffies around, but I'm tired of thinking about iffies. Let's fix this. Let's stand up and have the courage to say, I'm not happy this. We're the boss. We're going to try our way. You're going to get the support, and you might get the support much more than you would think on something you wouldn't think. But let's go for it, because we're pretending all this other stuff. How can I listen to it if I don't believe these guys or know you're really behind them? What do you think about it? Thank you.
Anybody else?
I did have one other thing I wanted to add to the agenda, and that's charter officers.
Any comments about that?
It's always good to talk about it.
All right, we'll add that to the agenda. Any other comments from the audience? Will the city clerk read the roll?
Vice Mayor Douthert? Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Commissioner Lister?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. All right, seeing no further business at this time, the meeting is adjourned at 2:45.
Is the city clerk going to stay our city clerk? And when are we going to discuss it? There's no sense going forward if we're not with the right guys. Now, if you tell me you want Shane to be here, I'll follow you because I voted for you. The same with him, the same with the city clerk. But let's not pretend it's not here, because it is here, okay? It follows everyone. Everyone is talking about it. It needs to be fixed. And the only way we're going to fix it is to fix it. Talk about it, work with it, fire you, not fire you, but something. Anything else, I don't believe it. I don't believe he's going to recommend an attorney's office that he knows if we're going to fire him. We need to get real. This is our city, and we really work to support you guys. And we work to support you guys because we didn't like how the city was going. They had their turn, okay? Now it's our turn. If we want to join them, join them. But let's not make believe it's not here. It is here. We can't just keep going along. I'm going to ask you, the referendum, all the legal stuff, the courts have that. There are 7 of them. I certainly worked with them, spent my money about it, okay, and it's in the courts, and let them do it. The building department, nobody's taking the building apart, but maybe we should. There was some iffies around, but I'm tired of thinking about iffies. Let's fix this. Let's stand up and have the courage to say, I'm not happy this. We're the boss. We're going to try our way. You're going to get the support, and you might get the support much more than you would think on something you wouldn't think. But let's go for it, because we're pretending all this other stuff. How can I listen to it if I don't believe these guys or know you're really behind them? What do you think about it? Thank you.
Anybody else?
did have one other thing I wanted to add to the agenda, and that's charter officers.
Any comments about that?
It's always good to talk about it.
All right, we'll add that to the agenda. Any other comments from the audience? Will the city clerk read the roll?
Vice Mayor Douthert? Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Commissioner Lister?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. All right, seeing no further business at this time, the meeting is adjourned at 2:45.